The night at Ibrox delivered another hard-fought chapter in this season, and while it was far from flowing football, it was one of those evenings where the result mattered more than the rhythm. Rangers edged past Hibernian by 1-0, stretching that remarkable unbeaten home record against the Edinburgh side that now spans more than 2 decades. It was not pretty, it was not dominant, but it was effective enough to take the points and move on. And sometimes that is exactly what a team in this phase of development has to accept. The decisive moment arrived through a move that deserved praise for its clarity and execution. The delivery into the box was weighted to perfection, inviting movement and belief, and the finish that followed showed sharp instincts inside the area. The header beat the goalkeeper cleanly and sent Rangers into the interval with a narrow advantage, slightly against the flow at that point, but welcome all the same. It was the kind of goal that highlighted how fine the margins are and how a single moment of quality can tilt an otherwise scrappy contest. After the break, the main concern remained familiar. Rangers worked, pressed, and battled, but in the final third, there was a lack of incision that made every attack feel heavier than it should. The absence of a natural cutting edge was clear, especially without the injured forward who had been providing goals in recent outings. The responsibility fell on others to step up, and while the effort was there, the composure in front of goal simply was not. Clear chances were rushed, promising positions wasted, and what should have been a second goal to kill the game never arrived. Instead, tension hung in the air until the final whistle. Defensively, there were signs of improvement, particularly in terms of mobility and recovery. The shape looked more secure, and there was a better balance between aggression and restraint. Certain areas of the back line still look unsettled due to injuries and upcoming absences, and that reality continues to shape selection decisions. With changes looming ahead of the weekend, there is a sense that flexibility at the back may be essential, whether that means a back 3 or a reshuffled 4 to cope with the demands of the next fixture. In midfield, the performance was defined by graft rather than control. The game never truly bent to Rangers' tempo, and there were spells where Hibernian appeared more comfortable on the ball. What made the difference was the willingness of individuals to break up play, recover ground, and reset attacks from deep positions. One midfielder in particular embodied that attitude, snapping into tackles, covering space relentlessly, and refusing to let the game drift. His influence was felt in defensive actions and in the way he used possession once it was regained, giving the side some much-needed bite and structure. Alongside him, a young Loney continued to grow into his role with a display full of confidence and bravery. Nominally starting wide, he drifted inside to find pockets of space and drive at the heart of the opposition. His willingness to take responsibility stood out, carrying the ball through central areas and testing defenders repeatedly. Shots were blocked, paths closed, but the intent was clear. There is a maturity in his game that belies his age, and even when fouled or crowded out, he kept demanding the ball and pushing forward. This evolution has been noticeable compared to earlier in the season. Used more centrally, he looks far more comfortable, able to link play and threaten without being isolated on the flank. His first touch, balance, and determination give Rangers a different dimension, and while his future beyond this campaign remains uncertain, his contribution right now is becoming harder to ignore. Performances like this suggest a player finding belief and rhythm at the right time. Elsewhere, there were mixed displays. The goalkeeper had a relatively quiet evening, dealing calmly with what came his way. Certain defenders looked solid enough, others steady without shining. On the left, the work rate was there, though attacking support was limited. In attack, the service into the box often lacked conviction, and when crosses did arrive, there was frustration at the lack of movement to attack them. It highlighted again how much difference a natural finisher makes and how reliant the side can be on that presence. The substitutions did little to change the flow. Some introductions struggled to match the intensity of the match, and one experienced figure in particular failed to make the impact expected, looking short of sharpness and rhythm. The bench itself underlined the current limitations within the squad, with few genuine attacking options available to alter the course of the game. That reality continues to place extra weight on the starting 11 and on the manager's ability to squeeze maximum value from what is available. Despite all of that, the overriding positive remains the simplest one. Rangers found a way to win without playing well. In seasons that demand rebuilding and patience, those results still carry value. 3 points were secured, the defensive record maintained, and momentum, however fragile, was preserved. The squad may be short in certain areas and the football may lack fluency at times, but resilience and work ethic ensured the job was done on the night, setting the stage for a far sterner test waiting just around the corner. Attention now naturally turns to Sunday, and a fixture that will demand far more than what was shown at Ibrox in midweek. The visit to Tynecastle is never straightforward, and this Hearts side has shown throughout the season that they are organised, aggressive, and very clear in their identity. They press with purpose, they defend their box with discipline, and they punish mistakes without hesitation. For Rangers, that means raising the level across the pitch, because another narrow and passive display will almost certainly be punished in that environment. Selection will be a major talking point going into the weekend, with defensive options already stretched and another departure on international duty looming. The back line is likely to be reshaped once again. That opens the door for different combinations and perhaps a system that prioritizes stability over flair. There is a growing sense that a back three could offer more protection and allow certain players to operate in roles that better suit their attributes, especially against a Hearts side that looks to exploit wide areas and second balls. Midfield balance will be equally crucial. The physical battle in the centre of the park at Tynecastle is relentless, and Rangers will need energy, aggression, and discipline to avoid being overrun. The performance against Hibernian showed that when the midfield fights for every yard, the team becomes harder to break down. Even if control is not always perfect, that approach may be required again, but with a sharper edge in transition, turning turnovers into genuine chances rather than hopeful advances. The biggest question, once again, revolves around goals. Rangers cannot afford to rely on moments of inspiration alone. The lack of clinical finishing has been a recurring theme, and while injuries have played a part, there is still an expectation that those on the pitch must be more ruthless. Against Hearts, chances will be limited, and when they arrive, they have to be taken. Movement in the box, anticipation, and composure will all be under the microscope. Because missed opportunities at Tynecastle often come back to haunt visiting sides, there is also the ongoing uncertainty surrounding one squad member whose absence in midweek spoke volumes. Reports continue to suggest that his future lies away from Glasgow, with strong interest building ahead of the January window. From a footballing perspective, his time in blue has promised more than it has delivered. While flashes of quality were evident earlier in his career, consistency has been lacking, and it appears he has slipped out of the manager's plans. A return south of the border may offer him the platform to rediscover form, while Rangers look to reshape and refocus their options. This situation feeds into the wider narrative around the squad. There is an acceptance among supporters that this group is a work in progress, one that requires patience and structural change rather than quick fixes. The manager's task is complicated by limited depth and the need to constantly adjust due to injuries and availability. Judgment, therefore, tends to focus less on tactical tweaks and more on whether the team shows commitment, organization, and a clear sense of direction on the pitch. One of the encouraging signs in recent matches has been the emergence of players willing to take responsibility despite their age or status. When individuals show hunger, resilience, and a willingness to fight for the shirt, it resonates with the support and lifts the collective level. That spirit will be essential on Sunday, where atmosphere and intensity can overwhelm sides that hesitate or lose focus. From a broader perspective, this period of the season is about accumulation rather than perfection, grinding out wins even when performances fall short, keeps pressure on rivals and maintains belief within the camp. Rangers are not in a position to be selective about how points are gathered. Every match demands maximum concentration and effort, regardless of form or expectation. As the team prepares for the challenge ahead, there is a clear understanding that improvement must come quickly in the attacking phases of play. The foundations at the back are beginning to look steadier, and the work rate in midfield has been evident. But without sharper decision-making in the final third, progress will remain limited. The visit to Hearts offers an opportunity not only to test resilience, but to show growth, adaptability, and a greater cutting edge in a hostile setting where fine margins often decide everything and there is little room for error as the season continues to unfold. There is also a psychological element to this run of fixtures that cannot be ignored. Rangers are still searching for a sense of authority in their performances, that feeling of imposing themselves rather than reacting to what is happening around them. At times this season, confidence has looked fragile, especially when early chances go begging or when the opposition enjoys sustained spells of possession. How the players respond to pressure moments at Tynecastle will say a lot about where this group is mentally and how far along they truly are in this rebuilding phase. The role of leadership on the pitch will be vital as well. In hostile environments, communication, organization, and calm decision-making become just as important as technical quality. Rangers will need voices guiding the defensive line, midfielders demanding the ball under pressure, and attackers willing to keep showing even if the service is limited. Too often, in recent matches, heads have dropped when moves have broken down, and that is something that must change if consistency is to be found. Tactically, there is an expectation that Rangers may look to be more compact without the ball and more direct when opportunities arise. Hearts thrive on chaos and second phases, so controlling space and limiting transitions will be key. That does not mean abandoning ambition, but it does require smarter game management, choosing the right moments to press and the right moments to slow things down. Small details like positioning on set pieces and tracking runners could easily define the outcome. Ultimately, this stage of the campaign feels like a crossroads where progress must start to align with results. The foundations are being laid through hard work and resilience, but the next step is turning those traits into performances that feel more convincing and sustainable. Sunday presents another chance to test that evolution, to show that lessons from recent matches are being absorbed, and to demonstrate that this side is capable of growing into the demands placed upon it week after week. There is still belief among the support, but belief needs feeding. Performances like the one against Hibernian can only sustain that faith for so long. At some point, Rangers must turn effort into authority, resilience into rhythm, and narrow wins into statements. Sunday does not need to be spectacular, but it does need to show that this team is learning, adapting, and moving in the right direction as the season unfolds. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to get all the exclusive news about Rangers FC. Don't overlook any details about your beloved team. It's crucial for Rangers FC fans. The back pages were fizzing last night as a curious line from Danny RÖHL began doing the rounds, sparking fresh chatter about Bojan Majowski and a supposed parting of ways with Rangers. "I can do nothing, he wanted to leave," the gaffer was heard to say, and in the echo chamber of Scottish football that was all it took. Phones lit up, punters leaned in, and the whisper grew arms and legs. Nobody at Ibrox is putting their name to anything, but the sense around the city is that something has shifted. Majowski's name has been tied to Rangers for what feels like an age, a striker admired for his sharp movement and cool head. And now the word is that he's slipped the leash. Whether that means a door closing or another quietly opening is the stuff of late-night debate, but the quote has been seized upon as confirmation that the player made the call himself. Sources close to the situation insist there's no bad blood, just the hard reality of ambition and timing. In the Northeast, they speak warmly of a lad who gave everything, while in Govan the mood is more one of what might have been. The idea that Rangers were ready to push on only for the player to decide his path lay elsewhere has a sting to it, even if it remains unproven. RÖHL's words, stripped of context, have become a kind of shorthand for modern football's shrug. Managers plan, clubs plot, but players choose. In the pubs and online forums, supporters are weighing up the possibilities, some saying it's savvy business, others fearing a missed chance. Until someone breaks cover, it stays a rumour, a burble carried on the Clyde breeze, with Majowski's future the subject of knowing nods and raised eyebrows. In Scottish football, that's often when the truth is closest. Greetings, fans! Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, as it's greatly appreciated by Rangers FC, and don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments section below. Until the next video, stay tuned